Hey guys, and welcome back to my OOTP series with the Seattle Mariners. So we finished the season 79-83. We ended up being fourth in the division technically, 11th in runs scored, which is a big surprise. Our offense really kind of tanked, but then runs against, we were tied for fifth, which really kind of makes no sense at all. There's a total swap of what the beginning of the season was. But anyway, that's what happened. We weren't really that close in terms of a playoff race. If you look at the wild cards, we ended up being 12 games back. We hung around for a little bit. I'd say, around September 1st, we started to fall. Some strange prospect news. Reese McGuire, who is the 22-year-old catcher that we got in that Toronto Blue Jays trade for Kyle Seager, he has retired. To play football, apparently. If you look at this history here, injured leaving baseball for football. I don't know what position he plans on playing, considering he's 5'10" and 215 pounds, and I believe that he had no speed. But anyway, that's his decision, so no more Reese McGuire. Looking at some of the stats from this past year, Felix Hernandez had a nice turnaround. He did lead the league in losses, but, with an ERA just over 4, his strikeouts per 9 were a little bit up from the previous year. I think that's a good sign that, he could be sort of a number 2 guy, hopefully the next 2 years that, he will be under contract. Otherwise, it was just sort of people that maybe you wouldn't expect. This Ryan Weber guy, I remember I had pointed him out a little bit before. He finished the season okay. I don't expect this sort of back third of the rotation to be that good. Not that they were great, but even be that good. Next year, and then hopefully James Paxton will have a turnaround season. For our bullpen, everyone except Gallardo, who is not coming back next year, had a solid season, ERA under 4. So a lot of these guys will be coming back, and we'll just have to decide exactly who. Our offense, it was Gene Segura leading the way with over 100 RBIs. He hit .316. Really just a tremendous season for him. Taylor Motter, who took over for Kyle Seager, I can't imagine this is going to continue, but he hit .330, 16 home runs in just over about 100 games. He got injured near the end of the year. I think he had a hamstring injury, so he missed the last month, but still a 3-WAR season in basically what was half a season for him. That's pretty remarkable. Dyson had 50 steals. You can see Ben Gamel in 89 games hit .280 for us. Zunino, obviously, this is a bit troubling. He did finish the year at .210, so definitely better than where he was at a lot of the season, where he was hitting something like .180. He did have 21 home runs. Obviously, he's good defensively. His WAR, doesn't really show it, but, he's certainly our starting catcher, especially with the early Reese McGuire retirement. He's sort of the guy that we're going to be looking to behind the plate. Otherwise, Nelson Cruz came back at the very end of the year again. In what limited time he did play. Remember, he had that concussion. He did hit .300, hit a lot of home runs. So he's someone that we're probably going to keep next year. I think we sort of need a designated hitter. We've got this sort of first base problem where we've got Dan Vogelbach, who's a .210 hitter with a lot of home runs given the number of at-bats he had. And then basically we have the exact same player in Jesus Aguilar, who did hit 30 home runs, but again, .220 average, .277 on base percentage. There's a lot of first basemen that can hit home runs but don't have a high average, and we've got 2 of them. Wilmer Flores, I want to see what he can do next year. He definitely had a very low average, very low on base percentage. He's not going to be a guy that walks a lot, but I expect him to hit better than .239. Looking at the postseason, if we take a look at this playoff tree, you can see that the Los Angeles Dodgers, no surprise there, won the World Series. They beat the Houston Astros, sort of a reversal of what actually happened. In terms of our team, there's a couple big decisions. First is Giovanni Gallardo has a team option for $13 million. We are absolutely going to void that last contract year. For Iwakuma, it's definitely a tougher decision. He has a team option for $10 million. I would have absolutely said yes to this, except that he tore his UCL. And missed a large part of the season. I'm not sure if those ratings are going to stand for next year. In addition, if you look at what he wants in an extension, it's higher than 15 million and it's multiple years, so I think I can get away with giving him a qualifying offer for 1 year, 15 million. If that doesn't work out, then it's essentially like I'm paying him $5 million more. I think I'm just going to take that risk. Our budget is going to be $172 million. Right now, that's sort of looking like we've got a lot of money for free agents, a good amount of money for extensions. So I'm feeling pretty good about what we could do this free agency period. We're not going to be big spenders, though. Again, we are sort of a rebuilding team. I think I want to give this team at least 1 more year to rebuild before we really start going after, high-end free agents or something. But we'll see how things go. In terms of the personnel, I sort of made a mistake here. Scott Servais's contract is up. I, again, like his numbers here. His reputation is only fair, but as happens a lot when you just let contracts expire, he now has no interest in working for Seattle. Our pitching coach, I guess I don't really blame him for our pitching struggles, which I guess turned into not struggles by the end of the year, apparently. And I guess maybe the one exception is James Paxton. Although if you look at his pitching splits, you can see that sort of in the second half, he started pitching a lot better. He just had a disastrous first 3 months of the season. I think I also just want to give Edgar Martinez 1 more year as the hitting coach. Again, those hitting numbers definitely fell off in the second half. I might even change my mind mid-season, but I think I'm going to give him a little bit more time, which sort of means that we're just going to be looking at replacing our manager. So if we look at people that are interested in being manager here, you can kind of see there's no one that jumps out at us, but this Oliver Attridge is also a sabermetric guy, so I think that we're going to be trying to sign him. We'll see what he thinks about that. So in terms of arbitration, about half these guys we are letting go, although the ones that we're letting go are sort of half-star relievers, people that were sort of making a good amount of money, like Lenny's Martin, he's a 1-star center fielder. I just don't like the ratings. There's nothing about him that screams, he's worth $4.8 million. In terms of the free agents, I'm going to wait a little bit to decide about qualifying offers. It could be that we can even get a qualifying offer for Jared Dyson because he's looking for a 4-year deal, although I assume he'd still accept a 1 year, $15 million. We're just going to wait a little bit before we extend these offers. In terms of awards this year, we can see that Carlos Correa was the MVP of the AL, with Altuve finishing second. For the National League, it was Chris Bryant who won the MVP award. He hit 53 home runs. Wow. And Bryce Harper, who will likely be a free agent next year unless he signs an extension. He is not yet. And then Kershaw, who had another pretty darn good season, maybe not in terms of Kershaw standards, but still a very good season. He finished third. In fact, Kershaw does win the Cy Young Award. Bumgarner finishes second there. And then Chris Archer of the Tampa Bay Rays won the Cy Young Award in the American League. Mitch Haniger's Gold Glove is the only award we'll win. That's kind of funny. All right, so it's a good thing I took a look back because now Jared Dyson will accept a 1 year, $15 million deal. So we're going to have to take away this qualifying offer because that's not someone that I want to pay $15 million next year. Iwakuma, though, is still rejecting that offer. So as we head into these arbitration hearings, we will submit that qualifying offer to Iwakuma. So this is the list of free agents. You can see Iwakuma here is a compensation pick. So I really hope that someone signs him, despite the fact that he's got that torn UCL. Yu Darvish, sort of the biggest starter on the market, although even he did not really have that great of a year last year. For the international free agents, we can see this starting pitcher, Kinshu Teo, seems to, oh wow, a good reliever too. I think that's going to be it. Yep. So 2 interesting possibilities to sign. He's just looking for $3 million, and he looks like he could really be, well, it says bullpen or emergency starter. I guess that's because he really only has 2 good pitches, so I don't know. I might take a chance on him for $3 million, though. And then there is Chi Young Sung, who's a 27-year-old reliever. Again, very good stuff here. So I might take a chance on him as well. So unfortunately, in terms of free agents, our Kinshu Teo, who looked pretty good, has now been given a much higher offer. And he doesn't say who it's from, but just other teams. Now he's looking for about $13.5 million, which I don't really want to guarantee him that money, which sort of brings up two options. So there's this trade over here with the Tampa Bay Rays that would involve Mike Montgomery, who's sort of a 2.5-star pitcher. I mean, we need pitching. We really need pitching. So this is a 2.5-star pitcher and a pitching prospect in Jose De Leon. And in turn, we're giving up our Gold Glover, Mitch Haniger, who, you know, sort of played underwhelming last season. I mean, his slugging percentage was about .400. He did hit 19 home runs, but, you know, batted .237. I think he could definitely turn into someone, but someone I'm willing to give up. And then also this Nick Nadert, who's sort of come up in a lot of trades. He seems to be between a 2.5 and 3-star potential pitcher. The way I look at it is I think Jose Leon is slightly better than Nick Nadert, and I think I would trade our Gold Glove left fielder for some sort of an arm. I'm not really sure that this is going to be the best trade for us, but we just need arms in that rotation right now, and I think De Leon is a little bit older. You know, he's someone that could sort of step up today. Nick Nadert is someone who's more like 21. I think he's a couple years away. The other thing that I'm looking at, and I'm really not sure if this is a good idea, but Yu Darvish, which I would have said absolutely no to in the beginning, is now only looking for a 2-year contract. It is $19 million a year, but you can see all this money that we have available. I mean, $52 million and then $90 million next year. I don't know. I think this could definitely bring us into some sort of contention potentially next year. Not that we're really gunning for the playoffs, but you know, now that we have sort of a 4th and sort of a 5th starter, you know, if we could bring in Darvish as sort of that number 1 guy and then also have Felix Hernandez and Paxton, you know, that's something that might be sort of exciting. Okay, so I'm going to submit this contract to Yu Darvish. Obviously, he's a compensation free agent, so we will lose a draft pick. But my thought process is that he will still probably be a compensation pick next year. So we might be able to do that. I also don't think that this is going to be the contract that wins him over. But for now, we'll submit that and see if he accepts. All right, so in the meantime, there is this Rule 5 draft. So let's take a look, see if there's anyone that we can just pick up. Holy Devers, oh my God. Okay, so we almost had a Rule 5 draft fiasco. We did grab Richard Arena in this whole exchange. I feel like that's definitely you know, someone with some upside. We'll see if he can do anything. All right, so we ended up kind of getting all the people that we wanted to get. We do get Cho Young-sung, who will be a great addition to the bullpen. Maybe a little overpaying here. I don't think so. I mean, we've just got a lot of money, and we've got that team option at the end. So 2 years guaranteed at $5.7 million. We haven't seen him throw a pitch in the majors, but fingers crossed. The big signing, of course, is Yu Darvish, so we get him under control for 2 years. Obviously, you know, didn't have a great year last year, and the year before sort of injury ridden. But, you know, I really think he still looks like an ace in terms of his ratings. We're only giving him $21 million. It's for 2 years. One of them's a team option. I might make myself pick up the team option because I think that's a little bit cheesy that, you know, it's a 1-year deal. But it's also true that no one wanted him, so I don't really know what to say. And then we just got some other sort of arms, you know, Manny Banuelos. This is a pretty cheap option. I know as a starter, at least our scout still kind of likes him, so you can see a 2.5-star starter. He, again, never has pitched in the majors before, so not really clear what he'll bring to the table. Then we also got Mike Clevinger, same sort of deal, very cheap, can sort of be an emergency starter if too many people get injured. All right, so I've simmed ahead to opening day. There shouldn't be any real surprises in terms of our roster. Our ace pitcher is Yu Darvish. Then we've got Felix Hernandez and James Paxton. Then we've got Mike Montgomery and Rob Whalen. Jose De Leon did not make the roster, but obviously Rob Whalen will be on a tight leash. In terms of our bullpen, we've got Cho Young-sung, the relief pitcher that we signed in the offseason. For setup men, we've got Carl Edwards Jr. and Dan Altavilla. Then we've got Josh Smoker, who I picked up on waivers. Mark Rezhedemski, Evan Scribner, and Nick Vincent. In terms of our batting order, we've got apparently Ben Gamble leading off. He hit pretty well last year, so hopefully he continues that. Dan Vogelbach has won the job over Jesus Aguilar, I think it was. So he's just seems to have better ratings this year. Like, look at that contact. It's just higher than it was supposed to be last year. So we'll see how he does to begin the year. Then we've got Tyler O'Neill batting third. This is someone who I guess was in our system before, some really good power. Not so much for everything else, but hey, we'll see how he does. Then we've got Nelson Cruz in the cleanup spot as the designated hitter. After that, we've got Richard Urena at shortstop. Gene Segura is still in the lineup. I don't know why he's behind Urena. This is all the manager's decisions, by the way. But Richard Urena is apparently going to be batting fifth. He's playing shortstop. Segura is playing second. Wilmer Flores is out of the lineup, at least for right now. But obviously, if anyone gets injured, he'll be the first person to jump in. Taylor Motter is the third baseman batting ninth. Obviously, he had a really good season last year. We'll see if he can duplicate that. Zunino is going to be the catcher. And Carlos Gomez, who we sort of signed at the end of free agency, just to a one-year, $3.6 million deal. I just think he's going to be a better center fielder than what we had. Some other things to note, Rafael Devers seems to be making a ton of progress in the minor leagues. His overall ratings are getting much higher very quickly. I have a feeling that even just after a month, he might be in the big leagues, but we'll just have to keep an eye on that. And like I said, De Leon's going to start the season in AAA. There's just a lot to gain, I feel like. His stuff is not fully there, his movement's not fully there, his control is not fully there. And, I'd like him to develop this changeup a little bit. In terms of the preseason predictions, we are projected to have 89 wins, apparently. We have two top 10 pitchers, Cho Young-sung and Felix Hernandez. I guess Yu Darvish is not projected to be a top 10 pitcher. And we have no top 10 hitters. I also thought it would be good to look at some of these prospects. So, Nick Allen still seems to be somewhat on target. These ratings are definitely a little bit lower than when we drafted him, but he still seems like he could be a pretty good shortstop. Obviously, we took a look at Devers, Vlad Guerrero Jr. Maybe these batting numbers are falling a little bit, but, still someone that could definitely take some good hacks. Calvin Mitchell, who was our first-round pick last year, still looking pretty good. I like these batting numbers a lot. We've got Miguel Amaya, who's still got those sort of good ratings at catcher. I do hope that, again, those position ratings go up a little bit. And you can see here, Urena, Jose De Leon. I thought this guy was interesting, this Casey Simonik. He was a 19th round pick, but, is now looking like he could be something, at least according to our head scout. And then Pineda, who we drafted in the third round last year, our scout still likes him. And OSA still hates him. Then the last guy, John Harris, still sort of that 3.5 starter. He's starting to be 24, so I'm hoping that we see some good looks in AAA this year, and maybe can call him up sometime this year. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. We'll pick it back up when it's around the amateur draft, and we'll see how we're doing. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you thought of any moves that I made.